What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word? Hummingbird. Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 15, Whiskey, a No-No. So let's get started with Jasmine and Eris. Okay, I just want to talk about what happened at the Country Western Bar. So all the couples go to the Country Western Bar, and there is, oh, first of all, they all sit down for dinner, I'm assuming. And so while they're all sitting at the table, they talk about where they're at in their marriages. So Nicole says that Jasmine had this wonderful breakthrough when all the girls were out at the mixology class, and how she was just expressing all of her frustration, etc., etc. And so she had this great breakthrough. And Nicole tells Eris, what I'm gonna need you to do, I'm gonna need you to be I need you to communicate more with her and blah 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 and listen to her more. I did not appreciate Nicole telling anybody what they needed to do in their relationship. Just because you got a man who would have gotten along if they would have put him with a giraffe does not give you the authority to tell anybody else what they need to do in their damn relationship. That kind of bothers me, especially since, yes, we know that Nicole and Chris are getting along great, but they have their issues. They have their struggles because Nicole is extremely insecure. And so she's trying to work through her insecurities. And she thinks that, okay, I'm going to get to them later. I'm not going to get too much into them right now. I'm going to get to them later. But girl, you also have issues. So you're in no position to tell anybody what they need to do with their damn relationship. I don't care if the information that you gave them or the advice that you gave them was wrong or right. I just did not like that because all of y'all are in the same boat. Y'all trying to make the best of this situation that y'all were put in. So that, number one, I didn't like. And so after they got done eating or drinking, it was time for the dance lesson. And so there was an instructor there that taught them how to do the line dancing. And then after the line dancing, they were able just to like dance and, have a good time with their partner. So everybody's on the dance floor dancing with their spouse, except for Jasmine and Eris. They're standing on the sideline, just watching everybody else have a good time, looking miserable as hell. So the dance instructor walks up to Eris and she grabs his hand and she pulls him to the dance floor. And so he starts dancing with the dance instructor. Obviously, Jasmine sees this. She gets upset and she storms off. Eris goes outside to follow her to see, what's wrong. And of course, she's upset that he was dancing with the dance instructor. Now, this is how I saw it. Now, when the dance instructor pulled him to the dance floor, I saw nothing wrong with him dancing with her. When they're outside talking, Jasmine, not even when they're outside talking, I think it was in her confessional, Jasmine says that he doesn't want to dance with me, but he danced with her. When they're outside talking, he said that he wasn't dancing initially with her because he doesn't like that type of music. He doesn't like that type of dancing, and he was the worst dancer there. So the dance instructor was giving him, he says, additional lessons or whatever. So he felt really bad that she felt bad that he was dancing with the instructor. Okay, they made a big deal about this, and I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So this is how I see it. Was it wrong for Eris to dance with the dance instructor? I don't think it was. I don't think it was because a woman grabbed him. It wasn't like he sought her out and asked her, can I dance or do you want to dance with me? The woman just aggressively pulled him to the dance floor and grabbed him. Now, he didn't want to make a big scene and be like, get your hand off me. My wife is here. Leave me alone. He just kind of went with the flow. And I think that Jasmine felt bad that the dance instructor did something that she herself didn't have the courage to do. I think if she would have grabbed her husband and pulled him to the dance floor, he would have danced with her. And y'all don't have to do the country line dancing. Y'all could have danced any way y'all wanted. She could have twerked on him. They could have done whatever the hell they wanted to do just to have a good time with everybody else. I think she just felt some kind of way that another woman did something that she didn't have the guts to do. And if she would have just grabbed that man, he would have danced with her. Now, so she just made a really big deal about the whole dance thing. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So her being constantly miserable and in a funk because this man isn't turning your clothes off every single time he sees you. I've always said, Jasmine, if you're not happy, if you're that miserable as you look, then why don't you just go home and end it all? Someone in my comments had said that she's just staying for the check. She's just here for the money. If you're just here for the money, then make the best of the situation. Why are you miserable? If you've already like made up your mind that I don't see it for him, he doesn't see it for me, but I'm just going to stick it through to collect my check at the end, then make the best of the situation. Don't be so miserable about it because you've already made up your mind that this isn't the guy for you. So just enjoy all the free amenities, all the free activities that the show has to offer. Make the best of your time until you get your damn check. Why are you always so damn miserable? When she talks about being bullied in high school and how she never told her parents about it because she's got this issue of expressing her emotions or talking about what's bothering her, talking about her feelings, when I read in between the lines, what I gathered was that she probably came from a school that was majority white where she felt most comfortable, or a more preppy school. And then she went to another school when her family moved. And I think the new school, I think the black girls at the new school kind of saw her as the black girl who acted and talked white, and they bullied her for that because she said that the girls would bully her for how she talked and how she presented herself, and the fact that she was articulate, and the fact that she, could express herself well, etc., etc. I think that they bullied her because, she was a white girl, she was a black girl who they thought was acting white, whatever the hell that means. So every time she talks about that, that's what I'm thinking. When she talks about how she doesn't know how to do conflict resolution because her parents never argued in front of their children, so they never made up in front of their children, I call BS on that. I think that's a cop-out. Conflict resolution is not just taught by watching your parents argue and make up. There's a lot of different areas in life where you will see and you can learn about conflict resolution. Also, when she talks about, when they talk about how she is, when Eris complains about how she's just not deep enough, he tries to get deeper with her, but she really doesn't go there with him. She's very closed off. When you ask her questions that should elicit a deeper response, she just gives you a very surface type of response. And now he's struggling with that. I just find it amazing that, well, number one, I'm going to choose to believe that Jasmine is choosing not to get deep with him because she doesn't want to invest any more energy or time on Eris. That's what I'm choosing to believe, because I refuse to believe that this woman has had no life experiences, that life hasn't taught her a damn thing, that nothing has happened to her in life that she feels like is worth talking about, that has changed her in any way, that there's been nothing life-changing other than being bullied in high school for being articulate. There's nothing else that has changed your life, that has taught you a lesson. There's nothing else that you've experienced as a cheerleading coach, as a beauty pageant contestant, as whatever. There's nothing else in life that you feel like, let me talk about this and talk about how this changed my life or how this particular situation deeply affected me. So I'm just going to choose to believe that she chooses not to talk about these things because she feels like, what's the point? We're not going to end up together, so why would I share so much? But not understanding that if she would share, maybe he would find that connection with her, and maybe they could get to the next step. Speaking of getting to the next step, let's talk about Shaquille and Kirsten. So when they're at the Country and Western bar, they announced to the group that they have consummated their marriage. And I thought they had already consummated their marriage the day that he painted her body. I thought that's when it happened, but it seemed like it happened after that. I'm not really sure. I don't know what's going on, but they consummated their marriage. Okay, fine. So when they were having a conversation, the group they were talking about how some of them had experienced losing a best friend through that particular friend ending their own life. Shaquille is listening to Clint talk about his experience with that, and Eris talk about his experience with that. And Shaquille tells the group that, hey, I was that friend that considered that because I was really struggling with some mental health issues, and I was considering that. But thank God, I went to therapy and I got out of it. So the group is, saying very comforting things to him, letting him know, we're glad that you decided to get help, the help that you needed, and you're still here with us, etc., etc. So So then he looks at Kirsten, and Kirsten looks at him, and he looks at Kirsten, and she looks at him, and then he just gets up and he walks out. So Kirsten follows him out, and from what I could gather from their conversation that they were having outside is that Shaquille feels some type of way that he shared something so personal, and he showed so much vulnerability by telling that to the group. Everybody had something comforting to say except his own wife. She said nothing. And so Kirsten was like, well, I was rubbing on your leg and I was rubbing on your back. So then, they go into this conversation how he really needs her to be more supportive. And they go into the thing about the trip. And then, she keeps saying how she doesn't take any accountability about that damn trip. Now, on the after party, she said that when he invited her on the trip, he did it in a very nonchalant, blasé kind of way. Kind of like, hey, if you want to come, come. If you don't, that's fine. That's how she presented it. But then when you watch the episode, Shaquille makes it seem as if he really wanted her to come with him on this trip. And he said, I didn't want you to come with me just so I can show you off as my pretty wife. I wanted you to come with me because I really needed you to be there. He says it's not even an issue of want. It's a fact that I need you there with me. And then she says something about, well, we don't have to be physically together for me to be supportive. Okay, but he was going on a business trip and he wanted you to come with him. That's what we're talking about. We understand that y'all don't always have to be attached by the hip to be supportive of one another. But this was a situation where y'all would have been together if you would have gone on this trip with him. And so, yeah, he didn't like that at all. The fact that everybody was comforting him except his own wife. Now, when they met with, who did they speak with? I think they spoke with Devon Franklin, and they were talking about all of their issues and whether or not Kirsten is supportive enough to Shaquille. Shaquille said he doesn't feel the support from her. Kirsten says, well, I am supportive. This is how I see it. I think that she is one way on camera, and I think she's another way off camera. Just as Shaquille told us earlier on in the season, that she's got, she's different when the cameras are not there. Because whenever they speak with the experts or whenever they're with other people and they're talking about their marriage and Kirsten is trying to present herself as this perfect wife, Shaquille has this look on his face like, what are you talking about? Because that's not what I'm experiencing when I'm at home with you. He really does have that look of, what's going on here? Because what she's saying, it's not what we're living. So I think that Kirsten, she wants to present herself a certain way and she wants to come off as, yes, I am that perfect supportive wife, but I don't think she really is. I think Kirsten is about Kirsten. I think she's a little bit selfish, and I also think that she's probably a kind of materialistic, especially when she had said that she was expecting him to buy her a house instead of saying, when we're ready, I would like for us to finally own our own home. She comes off with, I want you to buy me a home because I have friends and their husbands bought them homes. So she's coming to me across as selfish and materialistic. And I think that there's a whole nother side to Kirsten that we really haven't seen, but that Shaquille is experiencing every single day. Let's move on to Chris and Nicole. Okay, Chris and Nicole. Okay, they're like the star couple, the golden couple. They're doing everything right. They're in the perfect position. Chris expressed that he does love Nicole. He told her that he loved her. And this was when they were meeting with Pastor Cal. And as they were talking about their relationship and their ups and downs and everything, Pastor Cal was looking at Chris and was like, do you love this woman? Because Pastor Cal can sense that, yes, he does. So he went ahead and admitted, yes, I do love Nicole. When he looks at her and he says, I love you. And she says, I love you back. But Nicole struggles with some self-esteem issues and some insecurities. So like when she went lingerie shopping with Kirsten, she didn't feel comfortable because of, the how her body is shaped. She doesn't feel comfortable wearing certain things. When they're meeting with Pastor Cal, she says to Pastor Cal, I understand that, this is the process, but I don't feel like he chose me. I don't feel like I was chosen by him. And Pastor Cal was like, you need to stop thinking that, because he did choose you. He chose you before he even met you. Because when he gave us the list of what he was looking for in a wife, everything he described was you. Pastor Cal just has a way of making things sound and look so beautiful and romantic, even though I know he's BSing these people. But he just has a way of talking and making things just seem more beautiful and poetic than what they actually are. But so I guess I gave her a little bit of comfort, but she does feel like she still feels like she doesn't deserve this. She doesn't deserve this man. She doesn't deserve this type of love, etc., etc. Now, there's something about Chris. You know what? I keep on going back and forth every week with Chris and Nicole. Like one week I'm like, you know what? There's something going on that we just haven't seen yet. And then another week I'm like, oh my God, they're like the perfect couple. And they give me the feels every time I see them. But this week, this is what came across my mind. I think Chris could have been matched with anybody. And I think he would have acted the same way that he's acting with Nicole. Like, that's just his personality. He's just someone that's like, he's a giver. He likes to give. He likes to make people feel good. He likes love. He likes relationships. And I think they could have matched him with, a giraffe, and he would have been just as loving and just as attentive. And I think that's just his personality. He's a pleaser. He's here to please. He wants to make everybody happy. He wants to make everybody comfortable. He wants you to feel I think he's just in love with the idea of being in love and being in a relationship. That might sound a little bit cold. I'm sorry. Maybe next week I'll feel a little bit better about them. But this week, this is how I feel about Chris and Nicole. Yes, they are the golden couple of the season. Yes, they're going to say yes to one another and probably be married for a while after decision day. But I just feel like Chris is the kind of guy that you could have matched him with anybody and he would have been the same exact way. He would have been saying, oh, I love you, at around the same time that he's saying it now to Nicole. Unless they matched him with like a real Jezebel, I think he would have acted the same exact way. Moving on from there, we have Clint and Gina. Clint and Gina, they're just here for a good time, okay? They're not here for a short time. They're here for a good time. They've decided, in my personal opinion, this is not like what they said on the show, but just in my opinion, they're like, you know what? We're not going to say yes on decision day. We don't see each other in that way, but we do like each other enough to have a good time for the rest of the time. So they're just here. They're just going to coast on through to the very end, collect their checks, and then call it a day after that and go their separate ways and probably only see each other in passing because they live in the same building. If they say yes on decision day, I will be so happy because I like both of them. But if they don't say yes, and that's what I'm expecting, I'll be cool with it. I'll be real cool with it because they had a good time. They made the best of their time. They didn't fight. I'm talking about after she moved in and they were like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and have a good time. We know we're not going to say yes. Let's just write it out. Anyways, I like them a lot because they made the best of it, which is, I think Jasmine should take, lessons from them. You know that this isn't going to work out, but why be miserable about it? Even though Clint said the same thing to Jasmine that Eris said to even though Clint said the same thing to Gina as Eris said to Jasmine, the whole thing about I'm just not attracted, you're not my type, I'm used to women who look like this. Even though they went through all of that, they are now in a position where they are truly like friendly with one another. And that's where Jasmine should have been. She should have had that same mindset after a while and be like, you know what? F it. I'm just going to stay here and I'm just going to have a good time. That's how she should have been with Eris. Instead of being miserable and crying and storming out of places. And, oh God, it's a lot. It's a lot. Sometimes I feel like maybe Jasmine just really hasn't come into her own as a full-grown adult woman. She doesn't really want to express herself. She doesn't know how to resolve conflict. She doesn't want to be confrontational. She doesn't want to tell her husband. When she told Devon, yeah, I don't really want to express how I feel to him because I'm scared of what his response might be. Why? He's already told you he wasn't attracted to you. How much worse could it possibly be? We know that he likes you, okay? And we know that he likes you probably a little bit more than just a friend or just a roommate. How much worse could it be? Why are you afraid to tell this man exactly how you feel about what's going on here? I don't know. I I don't know. If Jasmine is sitting around waiting for a check, this money better be life changing for her. It better change her whole damn life for her to go through what she's gone through on national television. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, please go ahead and subscribe, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.